I never thought I'd be the kind of man telling this story. The kind that sounds ripped from a movie script. So dramatic you'd swear it couldn't possibly happen in real life. But it did, and I lived every brutal second of it. What still haunts me is how quietly it all began. There were no warning bells, no dramatic signs. Just a slow erosion that started in the silences, in the subtle glances, in the way my best friend held her gaze for just a beat too long, and how she didn't look away. Alyssa and I had been married for 6 years. She wasn't just my wife. She was a foundation I built my life on. Everything, my plans, my routines, my dreams, was crafted with her in mind. And Connor, my best friend since childhood, was more than just a friend. He was family. We grew up together, survived losses, celebrated milestones. He was the best man at our wedding. I would have trusted him with my life. In fact, I did. The first flicker of doubt came one summer evening during a barbecue in our backyard. I had stepped inside to grab a fresh bag of ice for the cooler, and when I returned, I caught a glimpse of something. Alyssa laughing a little too easily, Connor leaning in a little too close. When they noticed me, they pulled apart too quickly. I tried to dismiss it, told myself I was reading into nothing, chalked it up to heat and beer and imagination. But that night in bed, when Alyssa turned away before I could even reach for her, something inside me fell off. That distance between us, emotional and physical, had been growing, and I had been pretending not to see it. In the weeks that followed, the pattern deepened. I'd catch her smiling at her phone, then quickly locking the screen when I entered the room. Connor started dropping by more often, even when I wasn't home. He'd leave things behind, a hoodie, a bottle of bourbon, sunglasses, items that gave him reason to return. I tried to rationalize it, to trust the two people I loved most. But my gut wouldn't quiet down. Eventually, I did the thing I never thought I would. One night while she was in the shower, I went through her phone. I hated myself for doing it, but I needed to know, and what I found shattered me. The messages were there, weeks' worth of them, some harmless, others drenched in subtext. And then the photos, the late-night exchanges, the private jokes that once belonged to us, the most devastating message of all read. Last night was everything I needed. I wish she didn't come home early. I stood there in the bathroom, the sound of running water just behind me, my world collapsing in silence. I didn't say a word. I didn't confront her. I simply put the phone down, walked out of the house, and sat in my car a block away. My hands trembled on the wheel as rage and heartbreak battled inside me. But I didn't go back. I didn't scream or break things. I refused to be the villain in the story where I was the one betrayed. Instead, I waited. The next morning, I returned like nothing had happened. I kissed her forehead, smiled over breakfast. I even invited Connor over to watch the game the following weekend. On the outside, I was calm and casual. On the inside, I was ice. While they carried on, I began collecting evidence. Screenshots, phone records, security camera footage I had quietly upgraded around the house. I didn't let on. I just watched as they buried themselves deeper in deceit. Then I planned a dinner. I told Alyssa I wanted to do something special. Just the three of us, like old times. She hesitated, confused, but agreed. Connor said he'd bring wine. That night, I cooked steak, set the table, played our favorite playlist. The mood was light, almost nostalgic. They both arrived, pretending nothing was wrong. We laughed, toasted, and then I brought out dessert, 3 slices of chocolate cake. Along with them, I placed 3 envelopes on the table. "What's this?" Alyssa asked, smiling nervously. "A game," I said. "Let's open them together." On the count of 3, we opened them. Inside Alyssa's envelope were printed screenshots, texts, photos, every digital fingerprint of her betrayal. Inside Connor's, the same, plus one more, a still from the security footage, him sneaking out of our bedroom at 1:38 a.m. while I was away on a work trip. Silence fell like a hammer. Alyssa's face drained to color. Connor stared at the table, unable to meet my eyes. I stood slowly, circled the table, and looked at them both. "I know everything," I said. "I've known for weeks." Alyssa tried to speak, but no words came. Connor didn't even try. I looked at her one last time. You made your choices. Now I'm making mine. And I walked out. No shouting, no begging for explanations. Just finality. That night, I checked into a hotel. By the end of the week, I had filed for divorce and erased Connor from my life completely. But that wasn't the end of the story. A few months later, I started a blog. At first, it was just a vent, anonymously, quietly. But the messages came quickly. People from all over the world, thanking me for putting into words what they couldn't. That blog grew into a podcast. That podcast grew into a platform. And now every week, I share stories, mine and others, of betrayal, heartbreak, survival, and growth. What Alyssa and Connor did broke something in me. But I didn't let it destroy me. I rebuilt myself in the ashes, stronger, sharper, more awake than ever. And now, with thousands listening every week, I don't just talk about pain. I talk about power, about what comes after fall. They thought they left me shattered. Instead, they sparked a fire they'll never be able to extinguish.